All right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. We are back. We are going to be continuing on with our look at the triennial Torah portion. We are making our way through the Torah a little bit at a time. All right. Today, we're going to be looking at Exodus chapter 31, which is a short chapter, and just half, I don't know if it's half, just a little bit, the beginning part of Exodus chapter 32, which deals with the golden calf. So we'll look at the beginning of that because what we want to do is kind of look at the people involved in chapter 31, which we'll talk about, and kind of the main characters of the golden calf situation, because we want to think about kind of I guess the overarching thing that we want to deal with is the idea of thinking about being called and being chosen, right? Called and chosen, and the differences between those two, really, and the kind of different attributes, I would say, that go along with each of those, right? So if we look over, if we was going to deal with these things, we would call this thing that we're talking about today called by name. Because just if you think about just the idea of it, it's a difference if I see a crowd of people and I'd be like, yo, come here. Right? It's kind of a general thing where somebody might be like, me? Who, me? Right? And then we had to have a further conversation beyond that, right? Just a general thing. But if somebody was to be over there and then now I call you by name, then there's no extra things that got to go on, right? Because you know that I'm calling you by name. And then also, if we think about kind of what's underneath of that, if I was to call you by name, then there seems that there's kind of a knowledge that's there already, right? If I'm just generally calling, I may or may not know the people that I'm calling. Right. I could know, maybe I don't know, maybe I do. We don't know. But if I was to call you by name, to some degree, if it's just the fact that I just know your name, right? I know something about you, right? Potentially I could know you very well, right? And so we want to kind of look at that a little bit as we go through. We want to start off, I think, and just read. Hold on. We don't want her. Let me just pull it up real quick because we just want to deal with the first part of this here. Let's go over to the scriptures here. What? No, that's old. Okay. We're looking at 31. And so we'll just read down through 11.
They always spoke to Moshe, saying, "See, I have called by name Bethuel, son of Uri, son of the tribe of Judah. And I have filled him with the spirit of Elohim and in wisdom and in understanding and in knowledge and in all work, to make him designs for work in gold and in silver and in bronze and in cutting stones for setting, and in carving wood, and to work all in all work. And I have appointed with him Olab, son of Ishmael, of the tribe of Dan, and I have put wisdom in the hearts of everyone who is wise hearted, and they shall make all that I have commanded you. And the tent of appointment, and the ark of the witness, and the lid of atonement that is on it, and all the utensils of the tent, and the table and its utensils, and the clean gold lampstand with its all its utensils, and the slaughtering place of incense, and the slaughtering place of ascending offering with all its utensils, and the basin and its stand, and the woven garments, and the set apart garments for Aaron, the priest of the garments, and his sons for serving as priests, and the anointing oil and sweet incense for set apart for the set apart place, according to all that I have commanded you that they are to do.
Okay, very good. So we see over here now, as we've been going through, we see that Moshe has been getting all of the ingredients for the different parts of the tabernacle, over these last few chapters and everything. And he's been going through all of the different things that go into the making of all of these things. And then now we see where these individuals here are chosen for the for the putting together of all of these things, right? And so that's what we want to look at some. We go back up here again, we look at verse 11, right? According to all that I have commanded you, they are to do, right? He gave them the instructions. Now it's time for Moshe to give those instructions to these individuals who we're going to look at to put these things into action, right? So let's go back up. Let's go back up and look at a couple things. We want to first of all I wanted to look at this gentleman's name here, Betzalel. Betzalel. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's see here. Put that there. We want to see this here. Let's open this up some here. Okay, so if we look at the second verse here, is the name here, Betzalel. Okay, which means in the shadow. In the shadow, that is the protection of Elohim, right? So it means in the shadow, but again, we talked about this idea of differentiating between kind of a Greek thought and a Hebraic thought. And so when we think about Greek, kind of it's in the mind, it's kind of more abstract. So when I think about something being in the shadow, I have to kind of think about the verb of that to understand what this is meaning, right? And so when we think about kind of the verb of being in the shadow, we could think about, being on a hot day, right? When you're looking around trying to figure out where's a place where you can find a little reprieve from that sun beating down on you, right? And so if you was to go into a shadow, right, you will find protection from the heat of the sun, right?
Mhm.
And so that's kind of what we see over here with this Beit Sal El, this name over here, in the shadow, or in the protection of Elohim. Now it's interesting when we look at um, when we look at matter of fact, where's my whiteboard at? Let's look at the whiteboard before I look at some verses over here. Did somebody fix my eraser? Oh, come on, you guys.
Yeah. Use that napkin.
That's, I mean,
Can you use it?
I could, but okay. So here, let me just see over here. Put this over here where we can see. We want to look at this name here in the ancient. Ah, look at that. You guys. Perfect. Okay, so here, let me see here. This over here. All right, so Beit Sal El. So we'll look at the Beit, the Tzadi, and the Lamed, right? Beit Sal El. I mean, because if we was to have the whole thing over here, let me just write this over here. So we'll write the whole name, but we're just gonna look at the kind of the prefix of it. Beit Sal El. Okay. Okay, so let me just even put a little hyphen there, so just in case. Okay, so if we was to look at the Hebrew Beit Sal, I always get turned around over here. So you have a bait, a tzadi, a lamed, and then this will be El, which is of course the singular of Elohim, right? But we want to deal with the the prefix over here, right? So the bait is a tent, the floor plan of a tent, right? It's the blueprints of a tent, right? The things that is necessary to build a house, right? The tzadi is a man on his side. A man on his side. You could look at it as a man on his side. You could look at it as the path and the destination, right? But if we think about it as a man on the side, a man would be on his side like if he was like crouched down or kind of in a prone position hunting somewhere, right? So he has his prey per se in his sights, and he's ready to deal with it accordingly, right? So that's how we think about the tzadi, the man on his side, and he has a particular intention in mind, and for the most cases, it's the hunt, right? And so, and then we have the shepherd's staff, which is the lamed, which deals with the idea of leading, right? So you have kind of the Beit Sa'el, you have that the leader or the one who leads, who's on his on a man on his side for the hunt, then protecting his house, right? Or protecting that which builds the house, right? And so we can even see the idea of protection in the ancient over here, where we see this man on this side. He's crouching down and he's making sure that ain't nothing going on over here in the house as the leader, right? As the one who leads and guides, right? And so when we look at this word Beit Sa'el, this character who the Most High has chosen, um, you know, it's interesting that we have these attributes, in the name of this individual over here, who is creating this basically the all of the implements for worship he's creating, right? And so again, when uh protection, there's if we look at some scriptures over here, we see
It says how.
okay, hold on. Okay, all right. We're having some technical difficulties here. Let's see if we are to overcome these. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, very over. That is our word in the shadow That's our word. Sal, the root of Beit Sal. Right. So here's our word, and then it's connected over here with these wings. Right. So we see not only the fact that you have this shadow, but then there's this thing that's connected with the shadow that's actually providing the shadow and providing the protection. Right? We see that there's refuge in the shadow, and then we see the thing that's causing the shadow, which is the wings. Sound but no video. Okay. All right. Well, make sure that you got your scriptures with you, and then we can just do whatever we can do over here. Hold on. Let me see if I can fix this. Hold on one second here. Let's see here. All right, stand by. Let me just
Seems
see.
like it's just showing the desktop.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be doing that. All right, hold on one second here. No, it's I don't know what it is. All right, hold on one second here. Okay. All right. Let's try this now, okay? See what happens. Okay, so when we look at this idea of the shadow, we're saying that in the scriptures, even also in the scripture that we looked at, Psalms of the week this week, Psalm 63, we see this idea of there being refuge, there being protection, there be covering in the shadow of the wings of the Most High's wings. So we want to look at that. We're still talking about Beit Sa'el, but we just taking it just a bit further over here. If we look at this interesting connection that we see over here with this whole idea of protection or shadow in your wings, this word here is kanaf. Kanaf, which is an edge or extremity, specifically of a bird or an army, right? So when we see this idea of this kanaf, which is an edge or an extremity or an attached extremity, we see that we have this thing that is connected to or with the idea of protection, right? And so if we look at a couple more of these, let's look at let's see here, Malachi 4 and 2. What's that say?
So, but to you who fear my name, the Son of righteousness shall arise with the healing of his wings, and you shall go out and leap for joy like calves from the stall.
Okay, very good. So over here we see the ones that fear my name, that's dealing with the Most High, right? The Son of Righteousness shall arise with healing now, with healing in his wings, in his kanaf, in his extremities, these things that go out from him and provide protection, right? These extremities that extend out, that provide protection. And over here in this Malachi verse, we can definitely see kind of a messianic connection over here. If we look at did I put that in here? No. So let's look at let's connect this even further. What's this verse here? It's like Numbers 15 and 38.
Speak to the children of Israel, and you shall say to them, to make tzitzits on the corner of their garments throughout their generations, and to put a cord of blue on their tzitzit of the corners.
Okay, very good. So this over here, corners, is kanaf. That's the extremity of your garments, right? It's translated as corners, but we see over here, if we look at this, some translations say borders, kanaf, right? There's our word, the extremity, the thing that hangs out. So again, we're thinking about the idea of a shadow that's being made by the edge or the wings or the extremities, or we even connected it to Yeshua, right? If we even go to if we would even look at we can see this. Let's see in Matthew, what is it? Matthew 9. What's that say right there?
See, a woman who had a flow of blood for 12 years came from behind and touched the tzitzit of his garment.
All right. So she touched the tzitzit of his garment, which is the things that hang off the extremities. So in all actuality, she reached out and touched the wings of Messiah, right? And was healed. Right, just like we see over in Malachi, where his wings, he had these healing wings. Right, again, we think about the tzitzit. They're these things that cause us to look at what? The commandments. Right, they cause us to think about the law, statutes, and commands of the Most High and do them. Right, and so we are able to see over here when we think about this idea of this this individual who is Bates al-El, who is this one whose name after his name means in the shadow of the Most High. And so when we think about being in the shadow of the Most High, receiving the protection of the Almighty, we can also see a connection to the law, statutes, and commands, the character of the Most High, the thing that the Most High has given us so that we're able to know what it is that he wants for us to do and be. We see the living word who literally causes us to be able to be healed, right? And so when we think about this individual, this Bates al-El, who the Most High has called by name to go and do this very important work over here, we see all of these things kind of that point us to the laws of the Most High, right? The character of the Most High. Again, we talked about the fact that he called him by name, right? There's an implication there that there is some kind of an understanding of, well, of course, we think about who it is, the Most High. He knows you, right? He knows who you are, right? But it just makes me think about, like, if somebody is to call you, if somebody calls you by name and maybe you don't know the person who's calling you by name, the first thing you might think about is like, do you know me?
Right. Right.
Right? That's what you think. Wait, you know me? How you know my name? Like, and so I'm saying that in this verse over here, there's a type of knowledge that's implied where potentially this individual is somebody who he should be being called, right? It's not just some random individual. He should be being called. The Most High chose him based on something, right? Not just random. And so we're gonna keep on going on with this over here, thinking about this. But let's add to the situation when we think about the idea of this word over here. I have called, right? So let's look at that over here. Let's go back to our scriptures over here. Exodus 31 verse 2. See, I have called Kara. Let's make this a little bigger here.
Yeah, I remember I was being chased by the police.
Yeah, and they was calling you.
And they was calling me.
Yeah. That means somebody acquainted them with you. There's somebody somewhere acquainted them with you, right? Because you know you didn't do it. That's funny. Okay, what was I trying? Okay, let me just Kara. Let's put this over here. Okay, so Kara, the idea of accosting a person meant to call out to. What is this here? Oh, okay. So this here primitive root is identical with 7172, which we see to encounter, whether accidentally or in a hostile manner. So it kind of ranges the whole spectrum of calling, whether I call you and it's just random or it's intentional, whether I mean you harm or good. It deals with a kind of a general situation of a calling, right? And so when we look at this over here and we see that there is a very, when we think about this, what's being done over here with Beit Sa'el, it is, there's great significance and importance to this particular call that he's receiving, right? This is very important, right? This is the when we look at this, this is the first step of what's going on in terms of the tabernacle, right? We have the instructions, we have the blueprint, we have all of the ingredients, all of the pieces. They call for the people to come and bring all the gold and the silver and all of the things, right? They got what they need. Now they need the thing to be put together, and the Most High has chosen this person, right? Well, he called this person, right? And but what we wanted to do was kind of make a distinction. We want to make a distinction between the idea of called and chosen, right? Because Yeshua says over in Matthew 22:14 that many are called, but there's only a few that are chosen, right? So many, there's a difference. So many can get that invitation, right? That invitation could go out. Let me get that extension cord. Many people can get that invitation, right? If I sit up here and I'm having a wedding and I'm sending out my invitations, right? I'm looking for them RSVPs. All right. Just because I sent you an invitation don't necessarily mean that you coming. Right. And so when we think about what Yeshua said in terms of the called and the chosen, the ones that are the chosen are the ones who actually meet the call. And so we want to make a distinction over here between the two because of the fact that just because you may have a particular call on your life don't mean that you meet in the call. Right? You might not meet the call that's on your life. Right? Let me see some here. Let me see. Where is that at? Second Peter. Let me see if I could find it. Second Peter talks about this a little bit. I need this over here. We got to make a difference between just the idea of being called. I got a calling on my life. Right? But what you doing with that? What you doing with that calling is very important. Oh, let's see here. What verse is it? I think I gotta look at it in the King James, or else I'm not gonna be able to. I'm not gonna be able to recognize it because he says something very powerful. That's kind of pertinent to what we're talking about. Let's see here. I think it's 2 Timothy. It might be 1 Timothy. He said he wants to make your call and election sure. Let's see where he said that. He wants you to be sure to make your call.
2 Peter 1:10.
1 and 10. Yes. 2 Peter 1 and 10. It said let's look at this in the authorized. Okay. I like the way it say. Read that for us right there.
Wherefore, the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if you do these things, you shall never fall.
He said, give diligence. He said, give diligence to make your calling and election. He even adds this to it over here, because when we think about many are called, few are chosen, this is the word over here, the election word. You would think is the next step to being chosen.
True.
And so there's something that we got to be getting ourselves into over here to make sure that we line ourselves up properly with the thing that we are being called into.
That's right.
Just the simple fact of you being called So what? So what if you ain't making that thing? If you're not shoring it up, I could be called to be a wonderful concert violinist, but if I ain't practicing, I'm just wasting my calling.
That's right.
Right? But what we see over here now, in regards to Beit-Salel is that he was indeed called, invited, appointed to the situation, but not only that, but it says that he was filled with something.
That's right.
Right? He was filled with something. And so that over there is now giving you this extra ingredient in the mix, right? Because it goes beyond just saying, I'm calling you, I'm choosing you for this particular task. But not only that, but I'm also preparing you for the task. Right? By filling you. We look at that word in the Hebrew, it literally means that it means to fill, it means to be full of.
Right.
The spirit. It don't mean spirit. I'm saying he was filled up with whatever it is that he was being filled up with. In this case, it is the spirit of Elohim.
I would like to iterate something like we was talking about the lady that was touching the ZCs of the Yeshua, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, in my dialogue earlier this week, where a Christian tried to tell me that you're just justified by faith and faith alone can save you, and I was trying to tell him that it was the woman actually working her faith to make it active. You know, she didn't just sit there and like, oh, I trust that he'll heal me. But she had to go find him. She sought him out. So she activated her faith by actually work. And then according to James 2:2, and I'll be brief, as it says, do you see that the belief was working with his works? And by the works, the belief was perfected by the works. And the scripture was filled, which says, Abraham believed Elohim, and it was reckoned to him for righteousness. And he called him he who loves Elohim. You see then that a man is declared right by what? His works, and not by belief alone. In the same way, was not Rahab the whore also declared right by works when she received the messengers and sent them out another way? For as the body without the Ruach is dead, so also the belief is dead without the works. Mm-hmm. That's all I wanted to say right there.
Yeah, it is kind of it's very important for people to be able to understand that faith is an action.
That's right.
It's an action. It's not even thinking about it in the way of it not being an action is, again, it's that Greek mind entering into the situation, right? It's that kind of a thing where it's in the abstract realm. This faith, it has to be defined in a way. We have to say what the thing is, right? It has to be something that is moving. It's not something that's stagnant, right? When we think about faith from a Hebraic standpoint, it's about steadfastness, right? It's about firmness, right? It's about being solidly attached to something, right? And so if I'm sitting up here holding a string or a rope, let's say, I can be holding the rope and you can look at me holding it and see the rope there, right? But you don't know if I'm firmly attached to that thing unless somebody pulling against it. Right? You could tell, right? You know, if somebody pulling against it, whether I'm really holding on to the thing or not. And that's really what faith is, right? Faith is not, anybody can say that they have faith. Anybody could be touching the rope, right? You know, as an electrician, you know, a way that we get wires through a pipe. Sometimes we have a machine that pulls it, but sometimes it's about 3 or 4 guys pulling on a rope.
Right.
Sometimes guys is just holding on to the rope and letting the other people pull it.
Thank you.
Right?
That's how it was when we played tug of war back then.
Same thing. Tug of war, same thing.
We beat the 5th graders because the big guys that was now,
Yeah.
they was playing.
Yeah.
You know, it looked like they was pulling, but we come and found out they were just holding on.
It's the same
rope.
thing.
That's why we won, because they weren't pulling.
It's the exact same thing, right?
Yeah.
So you could be holding on to the rope. You could be going with the motions. You could be moving when everybody else is moving, but ain't doing nothing. Right. And so at that point in time, you really just living off somebody else's faith. Right. But at some point in time, you know, it becomes necessary for you to actually put your own hand to the thing and do the pulling. Right. And so that is faith is action. And so it's interesting that, again, starting off with all of this stuff, talking about Beit Za'el and the shadow or the protection of Elohim, it's interesting that connection exists to the Torah, to the law, statutes, commandments, to the character of the Most High. He's saying that he's going to be a protection for you, but how is it that he's going to protect you? By endowing you with his character, by causing to walk in his character is a protection for you, right? And so even that is not something that's abstract. It's not something that's nothing. It's something that's something, right? There's a thing that's being done that's causing me to walk in his protection, right? And so we always have to remember that. And so again, now we look over here at this Beit Za'el, who has been chosen by the Most High to do this most important thing, and we see the one that he called, he filled with the Ruach, right? So again, we see this extra layer of things that's expressed here, which is something that we want to think about in terms of, you know, how we kind of, the way that we put ourselves into this situation over here, the way that we gain kind of a personal understanding of how something like this relates to us, right? We're able to see that when we think about the idea of being called by the Most High, he don't just say, all right, come over here and lift up this big old heavy thing and put it over there for me. But what he does is he tells you that, come here, lift up that big old heavy thing and stick it over there for me. But I'm going to strengthen you so that you're able to do it. I'm going to give you the power that caused you to be able to do it. He tells you to kill the flesh in you, right, and walk righteously in the law, statutes, and commands. But he don't just tell you to do that. He makes a way for you to be able to do it, right?
By giving you the Holy Spirit.
By filling you with the Ruach, right? And so that's what we're talking about over here with Beit Za'el. He's just like you and I, where we have this tremendous task that's ahead of us, walking in righteousness, being acceptable and pleasing in the sight of the Most High. It's this unattainable duty that he's given us. How are we supposed to sit up here and put these things together exactly like he wants them? I mean, he gives us the Ruach to strengthen us, empower us to be able to do it, right? Just like Beit Za'el, he had this task of manufacturing to the letter these things that the Most High said to Moses to say to him, you know, all of these instructions that he was given, but he didn't just say, all right, do the best you can do, and I'll be happy with it, I guess, whenever you're done. He said, you're the guy that I'm picking, and I'm not only just going to pick you to do it, I'm going to fill you with the spirit of Elohim to prepare you and ready you for the task at hand. Okay, so we see that the Most High seen that it was necessary to fill these men with the Ruach for this mighty task, right? And so when we think about what it is that these men were doing, we can easily put ourselves into their places. When we think about things like, if we go over here, let me just see here. If we go over here to Romans 12 and 2, 12 and 1. What's that say right there? 12 and 1.
I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahweh, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto Yahweh, which is your reasonable service.
Okay, so when we think about what we are, who we are, our calling, everyone's calling, there may be certain specifics that each individual has, but the first thing is that we're actually a living sacrifice unto the Most High. The first thing is that we're actually a temple for the Most High to come and dwell. And then beyond that, then now we have, whatever specific thing that we're out here doing. And so the same thing is true where he had for Bezalel to go and to build this tabernacle. He had for Bezalel to go and build all of the furniture for the Most High. Bezalel built the tabernacle and the mercy seat for the Most High's presence to dwell on top of. That's what we do, right? We build the tabernacle for the Most High to come and dwell with, right? And so the same thing, we're faced with the same task that Bezalel is faced with in terms of readying a place for the Most High to come and rest and dwell and live in. Right? The purpose and path of every follower of Hamashiach is that we become a living sacrifice, right? We are the temple of Elohim, and we have to make a place for him to come and dwell. And so that's taking it a step further from saying, I am this one that is called. To, I'm one who has been chosen, and I'm ready to receive all of the things that I need that's necessary for me to be able to succeed in this thing that I've been chosen to do. All right, so let's go back over here. Let's go back over here because we see that he was filled with the spirit of Elohim. Filled with the spirit of Elohim. Oh, and in says filled him with the spirit of Elohim in wisdom. In wisdom. And so when we think about the Ruach, when we think about the spirit of Elohim, we must think about wisdom. These things go hand in hand. The spirit of Elohim and wisdom. Why do I say that? Because if we look over here, let's see here, 11, 2. What's this say right here? Hold on one second. Let me just do something here. Get this over there. Okay, very good. Yeshayahu 11, verse 2.
Spirit rests on Yahweh shall rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, and the spirit of knowledge, and the fear of Yahweh.
Okay, very good. So when we talk about this idea of this spirit that rests upon him, this rod that shall come from the root of David, Yeshua, it's not like it's talking about a bunch of spirits. It's really giving you a fully understanding of the totality of what the Ruach is, which is all of these things: spirit of wisdom, understanding, counsel and might, knowledge, fear of Yahweh, to say the least. Right? It's not a comprehensive list of what it is that the Ruach HaKodesh is. It's just giving you a fuller kind of understanding of what's going on over here. Right? The same thing is true when we look at Proverbs and 1. Let's see, start at verse 2.
For knowing wisdom and discipline, for understanding the words of understanding.
Oh, keep on going.
For receiving the discipline of wisdom, righteousness, right ruling, and straightness, for giving insight to the simple, knowledge and the discretion to the young. The wise one hears and increase learning, and the understanding one gets wise counsel.
Okay, all of these things over here are things that are all incorporated in wisdom. Now, over there in the other verse, we've seen all the things that's incorporated in the Ruach, the spirit, wisdom being one of them. And so when we look over here, we see all these other things over here that's incorporated in wisdom. And so if we say that wisdom is a thing that's incorporated in the Ruach, then we could also say that all of these things that we see over here that's incorporated in wisdom is also incorporated in the Ruach. Right? When we see over here these things like understanding, discipline. Right? This is a big one over here.
Big one.
Right? When we see let's see, what's the fruits of the spirit? That's Galatians. Is that Galatians chapter 4 or 5 or something?
That's 5. Galatians 5,
22,
22,
23.
22, 23, right? Yeah, that was Galatians. That's the most.
Okay, if we say here, I'm just gonna somebody just read it because I want to stay over here in Proverbs 22 and 23.
But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, trustworthiness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such there is no Torah.
Hold on, what you were say? Self-control.
Yes, I say so.
Interesting. What's that? 23. Temperance.
That was temperance. Yeah, that means
Temperance, right? So when we think about discipline, how that's not temperance? Of course it is. Of course, discipline is self-control.
right.
Of course it is. Long suffering. That's a whole other word, but how that ain't discipline and temperance? How these things ain't almost synonymous with one another? Long suffering, self-control, long suffering,
Gentleness, all of that.
gentleness. How that's not discipline to manifest gentleness. Sometimes people take you over the edge and make it impossible for you to do this over here. But that's just your carnality, right? If we operating in the spirit, we're able to be gentle all the time. When people take you too far to the edge and make you cross the line.
Peaceful.
You crossing the line over your peacefulness, right? But that's discipline over here. That's a product, something that's incorporated in wisdom. That's something that's incorporated in the Ruach HaKodesh. And so when we look at these things over here, and we see again back over in Proverbs chapter 1 and 2 through 5, and we see all these things that we can include over here in wisdom. We see things like discipline. We see things like we're gonna talk about understanding, righteousness, right ruling, right, uprightness, discretion. All of these things, right, is all incorporated in knowledge. I mean, wisdom. And so, again, when we see with Bezalel, who was filled with the Spirit in wisdom, right, it's just giving you a fuller understanding of what this Spirit is that he was filled with over here. I want to look at Hukmah. You gotta have that Hocker thing in there. Hukmah, which is wisdom. Okay. So okay, so if we was to look I'm looking, this ain't no mouse. You seen I was holding it too. Okay, if we look at this over here, I don't even have a mouse. I don't know why I did that.
Yeah, it's magic board.
If we look over here at Hukmah, which is the word, the Hebrew for that's translated as wisdom, you have a chet, a kaf, a mem, and a hey. The chet is it gives you the idea of differentiating. It's a fence, right? So it differentiates between inside and outside. My service over here. The distinction between in and out, right? The palm, the open palm that allows or causes to bend. The mem, which is the water, and the man with his arm raised gives you the idea of breath, right? And so with Hukmah, which is wisdom, you have this open palm, right? That bends or cause there to be a bend or a distinction or differentiation between water and air. How in the world is something able to bend or differentiate water and air? That's some serious manipulation that's involved in that. That's some serious skill, right? If you think about water, what's water? 2 hydrogens and an oxygen, right? If I'm able to divide that, if I'm able to make a distinction between air and water, if I'm able to take the air out of the water, that's some skill right there, right? But that's hukmah, right? That's being skillful. That's being able to use to use. It's the proper use of knowledge. The proper use of knowledge is what wisdom is, right? The right use of knowledge. So I have this information. I'm able to do all of these things very well with them, right? And so when we think about wisdom over here, when we think about wisdom over here, hukmah, again, skill, experience. Experience is something that's very important when we think about wisdom, right? When we think about the idea of experience, experience is a necessary thing. It's a necessary thing. I could have a theory about how something's supposed to be done, right? But if I never done it before, it's all theoretical, right? And I could know the theory that's involved in it, but I don't have all of the nuances that's involved in actually doing it. A lot of times, and a perfect example is you buying something that come with instructions to build. You got the instructions right there. You would think that every time it would be like just this perfect thing. But sometimes it ain't that. Even though you got the instructions right there, because it's something I never did this before. How am I supposed to? No, right? It's that experience that adds to the situation. Another thing that we think about with this idea of hukmah or wisdom, skill, experience, or shrewdness, right? Cunningness, right? Discernment, right? Being able to, again, as we see in hukmah, being able to, with that open hand, make differentiations between what's right and what's wrong, what's supposed to be there and what's not supposed to be there. Right? These are things that's all incorporated in wisdom, right? These are all things that's incorporated in the Ruach, which again, that the Most High filled Bezalel with, so that he was able to do this task. And again, we're bringing this back to ourselves because we have a task to do. And the Most High didn't just say, here, I got this thing for you to do, but he empowers us so that we're able to do it through the Ruach HaKodesh. He don't just say, be all you can be. He don't just sit up here and say, I need for you to be righteous individuals. I need for you to be a light into this world of darkness, but he provides the light for you to be able to shine in this place, right? And that's what we see over here with what we see with Bezalel, with him being chosen for this particular task and being prepared properly for the mission. And so when we look at things like, we're already in Proverbs. Let's look at this is something that I mentioned earlier, but I want to bring back up. If we look at what's Proverbs, hold on, let me put this on. 9 and 10 says,
So the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of and the knowledge of the set apart one is understanding.
Okay, so I think, this is what I think. I think it's safe to assume that the Most High chose Bezalel because he really feared the Almighty One. He feared the Almighty. And so that he was able then to receive this wisdom. I'm saying that the Most High was already, we think about what Yeshua said. Where did he say it? In John, let's see. In John chapter where does Yeshua say that no one comes to the Father unless he is drawn? He's first drawn. I think that's in John. But the point is, there's something that goes on inside of you as a kind of a preliminary thing that, 644. No one's able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him. And so I'm saying the preliminary thing is you coming to an understanding of who the Most High is and having that fear of the Most High, because as Proverbs, these wisdom books tell us that the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. And the knowledge of the set apart one is understanding. I'm saying that you can get to the place of wisdom, exhibiting wisdom, manifesting wisdom, lest first there is this fear of Yahweh in place. And so I'm saying that with Beit Zael, don't talk to us about this, but it hints to us, first of all, that he is called by name. There's a hint of knowledge that's involved in the idea of calling someone by name. And then secondly, we see that when we think about the idea that the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom, how do we get to the place of wisdom without the fear of Yahweh? I don't know that. Seems like we see many examples where the beginning of wisdom is having that fear of the Most High, having that understanding of who he is, and then dealing with him accordingly, based on the fact that you understand that he is Elohim of the heavens above and the earth below. Right? And so when we look, you look at some of the either the rabbinic writings that talk about Beit Zael, either they're right when they say that the spirit just came upon him just kind of randomly, and then he goes in like a spirit trance and creates everything. Or the Most High has prepared him to receive the knowledge and he works it out. One of those two things are true. Either he's totally separated from the thing, the spirit just took over him and he just in a spirit trance just created everything, or the Most High really empowered him to do the thing. If we think about it in the idea of kind of an empowering situation, it really kind of relates better, I would say, to what our current life situation is. Because the Most High don't take the control away from you. He don't turn you into this spiritual righteous zombie. You have to make decisions every moment, right? Either you're going to lean unto the side of the Ruach inside of you, or you're going to allow the carnality inside of you rule every moment, right? You're not kind of taken over into a spirit trance, and then your own kind of mind is not separated from the situation, right? You're empowered to go and work and do the things that he would have for you to do, and you choose to do it, right? He don't kind of take you over and bully you, force you.
Program you.
Yeah, it's not like he just enters the code in, and then you're on automatic pilot. Whenever he pushes the boop, just push the button. Done. Every second, every moment is necessary for you to make a particular decision, right or left, right, by the Ruach. But that's the example that we see. And again, we think about Bezalel. That's what we see him doing, being called, being filled, being readied, right, with the spirit of wisdom, right, and with this understanding, right, understanding. Let's look at that a little bit. Understanding. Here, let's go back. Oof. Exodus 31. Spirit of Elohim in wisdom and in understanding. Understanding is this word tabuna, tabuna, which means from intelligence, discretion, reason, skillfulness, understanding, and wisdom. This word here is a derivative of, let's see, bane, which is a word that means to separate mentally. To separate mentally. The thing about understanding is being able to separate mentally. There's been many times whenever someone will sit and talk to me about this or that. And until I'm able to really separate mentally what it is that this person is saying to me, you can't really do anything with that information. If you don't, it's like unto somebody speaking to you in a foreign language. If somebody's sitting up here speaking to me in a foreign language, I can hear what they're saying, but I'm not able to separate mentally what's actually going on, the meaning of these sounds that's coming out. Right? So you have to get to a place where you're able to separate mentally what's going on or understand. Right? Where you're able to have a particular understanding of what's actually going on. Right? If somebody has explained something to you, I guess kind of a thing that is kind of done with educators, is having people be able to repeat back what it is that they've heard, right, to show that you have a proper understanding of what's going on. Many times you sit there and say, XYZ to the element of P, and then the person will be like, GFH, no, XYZ to the element of P. Oh, yeah, XYZ to the, right, to the element of P. Right, perfect. Right, so it's easy for you to hear things. It's easier for you to hear things than you to be able to understand things, right? Where that's taking it to that other level. And then we see also with that definition, again, we see kind of there's like a intermix of things where these things kind of have synonymous kind of meanings, because discretion is something that we see with tibuna, which is the main word for understanding, which just like the way that we looked at the fruits of the spirit, where we can look at these different things, which are things unto themselves, but there's a kind of co-mingled thoughts that are necessary for all of them, right? Where they're all kind of discipline, right? They're all kind of temperance. It takes temperance to even do all these things. The same thing is true when we think about the idea of understanding and discretion, being able to differentiate when it's time for this and when it's not time for that, right? Having a particular understanding. You know, when you look at some of these things where, again, thinking about how he was supposed to take he was supposed to make some of these things out of like a one piece of gold, where he had to sit up there and get this thing to a right temperature and sit up there and form it how he knew what the right temperature was. I guess that was part of the wisdom thing, right? But you know, when there's a lot that's involved in these things of knowing when to do this, when to stop doing this, when to cool this down, when this got to be heated up, right? Having a understanding, being able to discern, being able to separate things mentally. Now I got to do this. Now I got to stop doing this and do this other thing over here, right? These are the things that's incorporated in the filling that was given to Beit Ha'el. And I'm saying that when we think about ourselves, these are the things that we have to understand is incorporated in the Ruach HaKodesh. When we say that we are people that are walking in the Ruach HaKodesh, walking in the Spirit, and we walking around over here not operating in discretion, in understanding, in wisdom, right, in knowledge, that's actually walking in the flesh. It's not walking in the Spirit, right? We're able to visually know and see what these things look like easily, right? These things are apparent to us based on seeing the actions, right? I can say that I'm a wise and understanding person, all I want to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you watch me behaving like a fool, then you could know
Exactly.
you're not actually wise and understanding, right?
Yeah.
You're not actually separating things mentally the way that you should be, right? And so it's important for us to be able to understand these things that the Most High is showing us. He's showing us right over here. Again, I have this great task for you to do, this immeasurable thing that's necessary, by the way, because you are a living sacrifice. You are the temple of the Most High. That temple got to be built, right? It's a daunting task, but don't worry. I'm going to fill you with the Spirit and wisdom and understanding so that you're able to do the thing. Oh, and by the way, I got somebody to help you too, right? You don't even got to do it by yourself. You could be the informing guy, but I got somebody to help you over here. This what the brother name is? Hold on, let me see what the brother name is. I don't want to just not say his name, right? No. Aholiab. Right? I got this daunting task that's necessary. Your whole life was you're here because of this. But don't worry, you don't got to do it by yourself. I'm going to bless you with all of the wisdom and the understanding, the Spirit of the Most High to do it. And you got Oholiab to help you do it too. You don't even got to be by yourself to do it. And so, again, when we look at this, I think that it's a very powerful parallel that we're able to look at and see with these scriptures over here in terms of what it is that the Most High went through and did for his people, Israel, in terms of readying them for the main part of their worship which was what they had going on with the tabernacle. And he gives the instructions to Moses to give to this man who he blesses with the wisdom and the understanding to be able to go and do it. And he gives him the spirit of the Most High to be able to go and do this thing. Just like, when we go and do and live in this life that, he has purposed for us to go and do. He don't just say, go ahead and do this or that, but he empowers us to go and do the things. And so understanding that this life that we live is indeed a life that is very much a spiritual thing. Understanding that this war, this fight that we fight is not against the flesh, but it's against the spirit. And so if we don't have the Ruach, it's impossible for us to be able to do the work of the Almighty. We can't understand what's going on. We look at First Corinthians, it's actually 2:11. 2:11. What's that say?
So for who among men knows the thoughts of a man except the spirit of the man that is in him? So also the thoughts of Elohim no one has known except the spirit of Elohim.
It takes the spirit of Elohim to know the things of the spirit. It takes the spirit to know the things of the spirit. What's 14 say?
But the natural man does not receive the matters of the spirit of Elohim, and they are foolishness to him, but he is unable to know them because they are spiritually discerned.
They're spiritually discerned. Right? They're spiritually discerned. So you can discern spiritual things if you're naturally minded. Right? And again, the Most High has given us all of these spiritual things to discern, but he makes available to us his strength, power, and ability to discern. And then he don't even leave it to our own, leave us to our own devices. He gives us a holy ab to help us in understanding. Right? He had a helper. He blessed them with the spirit. He blessed them with the wisdom and knowledge. And then he also blessed them with somebody to say, hold up, didn't the Most High say for us to be doing it like, oh yeah, that is right. That is right. I went off a little bit. Right? He could have just gave it all to Besael, right? But he gave him a helper to help him do the things because we need the help, even though we got the spirit of Elohim in us. We got the spirit of Elohim in us. We should be good. I got the spirit. You don't gotta sit up here and tell me nothing. I got it already. But he gave us helpers, humanly physical helpers that could be like, hold up, was we supposed to put that thing over there? I thought we supposed to. Oh yeah, that is right. That's right. And so again, we look at this in terms of how we can relate these things to ourselves, it's easy, right? Because it's just how our life situation is. It's just like this. He gives us this amazing, humongous mountain to climb, and then he give you the best kind of mountain climbing gear, and mountain boots, and the most excellent little hooks and things that you could use, and them little you ever get one of them little things that you attach your keychain for, say this is not for climbing? He give you the ones that is for climbing.
But
right?
you can't forget those tassels back day. You know, they come in handy.
Ever giving commercials and everything.
Right?
Wait till a couple more hours when the sun go down to be doing commercials. All right, so when we look at these verses over here in terms of the building of the tabernacle, we wanted to bring out the fact that we're gonna move on to the next section, but I want to remember that we see what exactly went into the calling and choosing of Bezalel in terms of the fact that he was chosen, he was called, he was chosen, and he was filled for and prepared for the battle. Okay, we'll keep that in mind. We want to move on to the next part because we want to get to the other part where we're able to juxtapose the two against each other. So if we go over, we'll finish up with this chapter. Let's see here. 12 to the end. Hold on, let me make this bigger. Okay, go ahead.
Because you always spoke the motion saying, and you speak to the children of Israel, saying, my Sabbaths are you to guard by all means, for it's a sign between me and you throughout your generations, to know that I, Yahweh, am setting you apart. You shall guard the Sabbath, for it is set apart to you. Everyone who profanes it shall certainly be put to death. For anyone who does work on it, that being shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days work is done. On the seventh is a Sabbath of rest, set apart to Yahweh. Everyone doing work on the Sabbath day shall certainly be put to death. And the children of Israel shall guard the Sabbath to perform the Sabbath throughout your generations as an everlasting covenant between me and the children of Israel. It is a sign forever. For 6 days, Yahweh made the heavens and the earth. And on the seventh day, he rested and was refreshed. And when he had ended speaking with them on Mount Sinai, he gave Moshe 2 tablets of the witness, tablets of stone, written with the finger of Elohim.
Did that say for a sign for the summer?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that was a everlasting covenant, right? And so when we look at this, working backwards, we see over here, Moshe received these 2 tablets of the witness, tablets of stone, written with the finger of Elohim. And so when we think about the Shabbat, it's interesting that the Most High, various places, brings up the Shabbat. There's many laws, statutes, commands that the Most High has in the scriptures, but we see he already spoke to us about the Shabbat the one time whenever he gave it to Israel back in Exodus chapter 20. But then he's bringing up, I think this might be the second time he brings up the Shabbat from the commandment of it in Exodus chapter 20. Could be wrong. I have to go back and look at that. But we see the Shabbat talked about before the Shabbat is codified, before any of the laws codified with the manna commands. We see it talks about the Shabbat. And then, of course, in the giving of the commands in chapter 20, when it talks about it, I want to say there's on another space after that. And then we have it over here where it's kind of a period to at least the bringing down of the tablets, right? Because after he goes into this, he gives Moses the tablets to come and bring down to the people. And so a couple things that we want to think about, the fact that I know for when we see before, a thing that we should think about is other places the scripture talks about the fact that the Sabbath being connected to being delivered from Egypt, right? But over here, the thing that it talks about is the fact that it's connected to creation.
Mm-hmm.
So when people try to make the argument, well, that is a thing that is a quote unquote Jewish thing,
Yeah.
the creation of it actually goes beyond the people, right? Before there was a people, there was this set apart time, right? Because he said he's connecting the Shabbat back to creation, right? Shabbat is a thing that comes about because of the fact that 6 days work was done, and on the seventh day you rested.
Right.
And he said that this is a verse 13. He said, my Sabbaths you are to guard my by all means, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. And so, when we think about the fact of being Israel, this is one of the things that we really got to think about over here. The Shabbat, that the Most High is bringing it up. Not me bringing it up. He the one that brings it up.
Right.
He brings it up all the time. And he puts this emphasis on it. More so than like he didn't say like thou shalt not commit adultery. This is a sign between me and you. Like he cares about that. Don't murder people. Don't steal. He cares about those things, but he never said thou shalt not murder. And by you not murdering, it's a sign between me and you. He never said that before. But he did say, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy.
Right.
This thing that you're doing is a sign between me and you throughout your generations.
People forget what happened before that became instituted,
Well, what I'm saying is that what people need to remember is the fact that whatever it is that he's calling for us to be doing at this time, by us doing it or not doing it, is a sign of the connection that we're supposed to have with the Most High.
Hold on, wait a minute though. It says that this sign between us and the Most High is what sets us apart.
That's right.
That's the difference.
So if people ain't keeping this sign, they ain't set apart.
They don't got the sign of the set apartness. I don't know. I mean, I could just say they're not set apart. I could just say it.
You can.
I don't got to kind of sugar. I try to sugarcoat a little bit. They don't got the sign.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You don't got the sign. It says it right there.
Right. And those that practice lawlessness and teaching lawlessness are the main ones that's not paying attention to Exodus 31:18.
Well, the thing is that they don't got to pay attention to it because that's that old covenant.
Oh, to them, yeah.
That's that Old Testament stuff
Old
where they don't got to. They don't got to think about it.
They don't wear them sneakers no more.
So I mean, they listen. Those people. I'm not talking about just regular old people. If you talk to the educated ones, hold on. Let me put this on her so you can see that I'm putting air quotes. If you talk to the educated ones, you understand. From that perspective, at least there's some kind of a thought process that's kind of is kind of well put together. Their things, right. There's some justifications that they have to be able to do these things. It's not just kind of just pulling it out of left field.
Right.
There's a reason. The reason is not right, but there is a reason, right? And so, but we're able to know by our reasonings that are right, that when we understand, when we're able to connect the fact that the Most High said, this thing that I'm going to do, that's going to rectify the iniquity of the people that I call by my name, this thing that I'm going to do to rectify that situation is pouring out the Spirit. And then when we understand that the pouring out of the Spirit is the law in your hearts, we can't connect it to nothing else.
Right.
It can't be connected to nothing else.
Right.
When we look and see, when we look at Acts chapter 2 and talk about the pouring out of the Spirit, if we go back, Yeshua came and he fulfilled things that was already written about in the so-called Old Testament. So the things that he did, the things that he brought to pass were things that was prophesied about before he came on the scene. And so when we look and see the things that happen, we got to be able to connect those back to things in the so-called Old Testament.
This blew my mind today.
Yeah.
When you read that the hem of his garment was fringes,
Yeah.
that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because, of course, forever I've learned that in church,
Mhm.
that, she touched the hem of his garment. But just think what it would have said if I would have known that she touched his fringes.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, that's what he was touching.
There's clear-cut things that they're leaving out to disconnect
Right.
Yeshua from all of this.
Mhm.
Right.
Like he's like, oh no, Yeshua wasn't about none of that.
Right.
No, he was about all of that.
Yeah. And it's so clear when you think about it from the proper perspective. And not just that it was his clothes, and even not that it was his fringes,
Right.
but what it represents is
Right.
powerful.
Right.
Yeah. But
Right?
you ever touch a live wire? Those fringes was probably live wires with power from.
I've actually never touched a live wire. But
It was power.
I've seen it, and it's not a pretty thing.
Pretty thing, huh? That's
No.
no. Electricity.
Yeah. And so when we look at this Shabbat, right, it blows now you're talking about something blowing your mind. It blows my mind for people to be able to take their Sharpies and get rid of these things out of the book.
And some scissors too.
When we look at even if we look at the so-called New Testament, there's so much talk about when they was together.
Right.
Now I'll even give you the 2, maybe 3 times that they did get together on the first day of the week. You can have those, but that's only going to be in addition to when they was getting together on the 7th day of the week.
Right.
And I'm not even going to say 3. I think it's 2 times that you can look in Acts where it talks about them being together at a specific time on the first day of the week. But that don't take into account of all the other times, the myriad of other times when they was together on the Shabbat.
Every week.
Right? Every Shabbat.
Every Shabbat.
What they was doing, they was looking at Moses.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even bother with trying to get the Gentiles to try to figure in. Don't worry about it. They're going to be at the temple on Shabbat, and Moses is going to be tired. We don't got to get them into nothing but forgetting about these idols and all the things that's connected to it.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, they're going to learn everything else when they go to Shabbat, on Shabbat,
Yeah.
and Moses is going to be preached. It's just a given, right? And so I don't understand. I'm not able to mentally separate how these people can disconnect this thing that the Most High said. If you want to even say that it's a sign between the Most High and his people only, how you don't want to be his people.
Bingo.
You don't want to be his people. You want there to be this other group of people that you're not connected to.
Right.
Because there's a sign between him and his people, but that's only for his people. But I'm this other people.
They took it over.
They took over the people.
They
I'm saying, but if you taking over the people, you taking over the sign too, though. You can't have it both ways. If you replacing yourself as the people, then you got to apply these things to yourself now.
They like to
So you're not doing it right.
saying Mosaic law. You feel me? Not doing a lot of my discussions and minor debates. The Mosaic law, y'all making it sound like Moshe went up there himself and took out something and wrote it. But see, that's why I be going back to Exodus 31:18, because they don't understand. He did with his finger. He wrote that out with his fingers.
Even if you was going to say, make the argument, well, I believe that we should be doing certain things, but I only believe that we should or shouldn't be doing things that's connected to morality and the Sabbath. There's nothing moral about that. I feel like because of the fact that the Most High keep on saying it, he's elevating it somehow. Because besides the fact that he keep on saying it, if you don't do it, he said, what did he say? He said, everyone who profanes it shall surely be put to death.
And that's evident by that guy picking up them branches too.
Right. For anyone who does work on it, that being shall be cut off. And it's interesting because there's places where you could think about being cut off from a man from amongst his people could just be you're sent outside the gates, and you're not like cut off from the land of the living. You just excommunicated. But he gives it to you both ways over here. You're gonna be put to death. For anyone who works on it, if you profane it, you're put to death. Anyone who works on it, which, by the way, if you work on it, you're profaning it. So he's giving you another step to the same thing. That being shall be cut off from among his people. What that mean? You cut off from the land of the living. You dead. Right? And so even if you was to try to make the argument that, the only thing that you're responsible for is these moral commands, the Most High elevates this thing called Shabbat for some reason, and we should take this into account.
Pretty much.
It don't. I'm bewildered myself. I don't understand it. I do not understand how you're able to remove this situation from the situation, especially when we see these things over here, like verse number 14, where the penalty for going against this thing is death. This is not all sin is unto death.
too hard, man.
But this one over here is unto death. And so it's like and it's almost like it's a period. It's like a period to the situation that gives them all the commands. We done figured out how we're gonna worship. We figured out who's gonna lead the worship. We figured out who's gonna make the place for us to worship. And then, before I'm done here, let's talk about the Shabbat one more time, and then go ahead down to the people. This got to be something to somebody. And even when we think about the fact that we are where we're at, where you talk to some people who say, well, we're in exile, we can't do this Shabbat. I'm talking about people who believe in Shabbat, believe in being Israel, but will say, well, that's something that we do in the land. But I'm saying that somehow we got to be able to make verse. We got to be able to make verse 16 be something that's real. First of all, you're guarding the Shabbat to perform the Shabbat throughout your generations as an everlasting covenant. We had to make that real somehow throughout your generations, right? That means it's not subject to where you're at if you're performing it throughout your generations. The thing that it deals with is you and your family into perpetuity, right? So somehow you need to find a way to guard the Shabbat throughout your generations.
Mhm.
But where's the other one that says, let's see here. That was 16. Oh, maybe that was, oh, and 13, how it's a sign. It's a sign throughout your generations. It's a sign throughout your generations, and you are to guard it or the sign throughout your generations. So he's basically saying this same thing over here 2 times in terms of this thing being perpetuated in perpetuity. Right?
And that and a big point, it says to guard by all means. That means you got.
Oh my
you need
goodness.
to put effort.
Wait a second.
That don't mean like, oh, we just can't do it. No, you supposed to find a way.
Did we just skip over that? Like that is not nothing right there. That is not nothing.
By all means. So it don't matter what your situation is. You need to be finding a way.
By all means. That's interesting. Hold on, what is that?
Use all your resources to make sure you do this thing.
Yeah, but they
Oh, this word here, ak.
Jesus saves, not the Sabbath.
Surely, right? Certainly, in any wise. Okay, so it's an actual word. It's an actual word that they put in there to kind of intensify the idea of guarding. Right? So this is just not some funny business. This over here is what this is, this surely, this verily. Right? So, besides the fact that he keeps on bringing it up, besides the fact that in the same group of scriptures that he wants this thing to be throughout your generations, that's, there's no end to that. As long as you keep on having children and they keep on having children, it's supposed to keep on going down the line. He says that twice. But he's saying over here to guard this thing, shamar it by any means necessary. Do what you got to do. So in other words, if I can't do all of the things that are prescribed for me to do, I still got to find a way to do something to keep it, in its place. And so, we think about what? We think about a holy convocation, and we think about not doing any work. And whatever those things mean, those are the things that you have to be guarding by any means necessary. Not doing any work, having a holy convocation. Some people like to just, I'm supposed to rest. But beyond just resting, you're supposed to not be working, and you're supposed to be having a holy convocation. Right? All of those things is incorporated in keeping the Shabbat. Don't even go into all of that right here because it goes into it in more detail in one of the other places that it deals with it, previously. But it's just, again, bringing it back up again, so that, driving the point home of the importance of this day, this time, this set apart appointment that the Most High, this forever appointment, he put this thing on the calendar, and it just keeps on going. I don't got to be like, man, is there going to be Shabbat this week? Nah, he set it in motion. Boom. It's right there. Right? Okay, let's go over to the next part real quick. We'll read just 14 verses of the next chapter. Because we want to compare back to something before we finish up here. Let's see. Next chapter, just the first 14 verses we'll look at.
And when the people saw that Moshe,
Oh, hold on 1 second. It's my fault. Hold on 1 second. Let me move this out the way here. Okay, go ahead.
and when the people saw that Moshe was so long in coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, "Arise, make us mighty ones who go before us. For this Moshe, the man who brought us up out of the land of Mizraim, we do not know what has become of him." And Aaron said to them, "Take off the golden earrings which are in your ears the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me." And all the people took off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he took this from their hand, and he formed it in with an engraving tool and made a molten calf. It says, and they said, "This is this is your mighty one, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Mizraim." And Aaron saw and built a slaughter place before it. And Aaron called out and said, "Tomorrow is the festival to Yahweh." And they rose early on the next day and offered assembling offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. And Yahweh said to Moshe, "Go get down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Mizraim have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made themselves a molten calf and have bowed themselves down to it and slaughtering to it and said, 'This is your mighty one, O Israel, who brought you out of the land of Mizraim.'" Yahweh said to Moshe, "I have seen this people, and see, it is a stiff-necked people. And now let me alone, that my wrath might burn against them, and I consume them, and I make of you a great and I make of you a great nation." But Moshe pleaded with Yahweh his Elohim and said, "Yahweh, why is your wrath burned against your people whom you have brought out of the land of Mizraim with great power and have a strong hand? Why should the Midianites speak and say, for evil he has brought them out to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your heat with your wrath and relent from this evil to your people. Remember Abraham, Yitzchak, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by yourself and said to them, I increase your seed like the stars of the heavens, and all this land that I have spoken of I give to your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. And Yahweh relented from the evil which he has said he would do to his people.
Okay, very good. So when we look over here and we see a very kind of powerful example of Moshe giving us kind of a picture of Messiah, and in that he is pleading to the Most High for the people, right? He's pleading the case of the people to the Most High on behalf of the people. He is being a mediator. He's being that lawyer for the people. He's making the case, right? He makes a pretty good one too, right?
Yeah, good.
he's
well thought out.
He's pretty, like what is the Egyptians going to sit up here and say? Right?
Yeah, right.
What they going? You know what I mean?
Them people was bad. Yeah, he took them out there and killed them.
Right. So we see something very powerful that again, when we think about the prophetic connection um, that Moses gives us in terms of him kind of being that example of what Messiah is for us. We'll see, not only here, but in all of the subsequent situations that are connected to this thing that happens over here. One of the things I always think about, another thing that I always think about when I think about the golden calf situation is the fact that the Most High is ready to kill this chosen people because of this mixture of worship. They're worshiping the Most High, but they're doing it in a way that's connected to paganism. And the Most High is ready to kill them as a result of it.
Well, they think they worship in the Most High.
Well, I'm saying that they're giving credit to the Most High and they're doing this thing. Yes, it is. They're doing it falsely. But what I'm saying is that they're saying that I'm worshiping the Most High, but the way that they're doing it, yeah. And so when you think about these pagan holidays, when people say, "Well, I have a Christmas tree, but I'm worshiping Jesus,"
I know what God I serve.
Only for the kids.
Right?
Exactly.
The Most High, He don't want that.
Yeah.
He don't want for you to sit up here and worship Him in these other ways. He don't want for you to say, "Well, I know people use that as a God, but it's not my God. My God's Jesus."
Yeah.
That's the same thing they did.
Exactly.
And He was ready to kill them for it.
Exactly.
And so to me, when I look at this thing, it's so cut and dry. Like, why do you sit up here and make excuses for these things? I could see if you didn't know. I could see if you didn't have nobody in your family to sit up there and say, Jeremiah chapter 10 talks about the tree and decking it with silver and gold. I can see if you don't have that person in your family and nobody never told you. But for you to take it a step further to say, well, I know that's pagan. I know this pagan, or I can see if you don't got an almanac. I mean, an encyclopedia in your house or Google on your phone, and you never Googled it before to see the pagan origins of it. But when you take it a step further, where I can see the pagan connections, and you still say it's okay. And you read this before. I can see you never read this before. You never read it. You don't have Google. You never Googled it. You don't have the cousin that tells you about it. But if all of those things are true, why you don't see the connection here with this false worship? Because it's clear. He don't want for you to sit up here and worship him in the way that
He has a commission.
Yeah, it's a unvalidated way. He never said build no calf and have no feast unto me and let the calf stand and represent and proxy for me.
He never said raise no tree up and deck it with silver and gold.
He never said none of those
I
things.
show grit, make the greenery beautiful.
And so when I look at this, especially when we understand, as we'll go through more probably next week, as we see the severity of this situation, it baffles me. It baffles me to see that the person that has the cousin that has Google and has Googled it and has looked at these things and still justifies doing a pagan thing and doing it unto the Most High still.
Yeah, I heard them say that's not tree worship. That's not an idol. I'm like, oh my goodness. Then I'll be like, oh, you one of them strong delusional people.
So when we look over here, when we look over at verse number 6, it's interesting that we're able to see. I should have pulled up the things, but I just want to go through this real quick. We looked at this over here with this idea they was eating and drinking and they rose up to play.
What's that?
There's a lot of different commentators who describe this to kind of the nasty things, the fornication and things that was connected with a lot of the pagan worship that they was potentially getting into with this idea of play, right? Because the word literally means to play or to laugh, right? I think it's like the same root as like Isaac, like his name Isaac, to laugh. But there's many people that talk about this and connect it with certain types of pagan worship, potentially the ones that Aaron was singing with the idea of this calf in the first place, where this thing was they was into all types of foolishness. So not only did they make an idol and they're doing these pagan things unto the Most High, but there's more things that look like idol worship than there are that look like true worship, right? They could have just, I mean, why couldn't they just make a altar, make a slaughter place, and then just sacrifice? Why couldn't they just do? Why couldn't they just bring offerings unto the Most High like regular style?
Because they came out of Egypt with this full of it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing that I wanted to bring out was the fact that look at who it is that's doing it.
Yeah.
It's Aaron.
He didn't get much resistance.
He didn't get no
He
resistance.
didn't say, nah, let's think about it.
Now when you look at some of the rabbinic writings, they talk about her who before, when we look in the earlier chapters where they talk about Moses goes up and the people's left to lead is like Aaron and his sons and her. But so they talk about the fact that from back in those earlier chapters, you don't hear about her anymore. And so, her, not her, but HUR her. It was an elder, right? And so the rabbinic commentators, they say he don't show up anymore because in their uproar to get a idol to worship, they kill him. And then we see Aaron don't give no, he just right to it.
Right. All right.
So again, this is what they say, but it seems like something had to happen for him just to say, okay, whatever. Like, right. He's just right to it. Right. And he's just like, all right, I'll build you the thing. Right. And so, but what I wanted to talk about real quick was the fact that when we look at Aaron, again, Aaron being, he's the high priest. He's the one that was chosen to be the high priest. In fact, at this point, he done got anointed with oil. He done washed up. He done got cleansed. He got his new clothes and all of the things, right? But none of those things kept him from doing what is equated to gross iniquity over here in terms of sitting up here making this idol. And so, comparatively and I wanted to just look at the fact when we look at Bezalel, who was not only just given a task, he was not only just chosen for the task, but he was filled with the Spirit, it says, to do it. Aaron was given a equally daunting task of being the high priest. But up to this point, don't talk about him being filled with the Spirit and wisdom and understanding, the same way it talked about Bezalel. And so if we kind of look at those two things next to each other in terms of the fact that he had this great task that he has, he obviously was not ready to defend his position over here as the high priest. I mean, technically speaking, when you're thinking about it, who he is, he's supposed to be ready to stand for the Most High. And if need be, if they overtake him, then okay, let them overtake him, and them they be the ones that make the golden calf.
That's right.
But we don't see them mentioning it to them. Aaron said unto them, hold on. The people saw that he was gone. Arise, make us, they did say make us gods and go. Make us mighty ones who go before us. So they did put the thought in his mind of making the gods, but he definitely came up with the construction of it.
Yeah, he was thinking,
because he said, all right, give me your gold, give me your earrings and all that. I'll make some up. But he's the high priest though.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be like, nah, we ain't doing that.
But did he know though?
Did he know?
Did Moses come back down with the commandments? Because I'm just thinking like,
Oh, you saying did he know about Moses coming back or not? What you mean? Did he know what?
Know to not do it?
I see what you're saying.
Because Moses was still on the mountain getting the commandments of what to do and what not to do.
He heard one of the things that he heard was about the idols though. He did hear about the idols. They all heard it with their ears.
Back in Exodus 20.
Yeah.
But was Moses still getting? Was he still?
Moses goes up and down at least 3 times. I have to go back and look and see which time this is. But there definitely was a time, because that's the main thing. He was gone so long, they start acting up.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was panicking.
And so I'm saying that everybody heard. He at this point, I know for sure knows that he's the high priest, right? Because we wait a second. They do okay. We talking about something now because Bezalel is chosen and given the it says that he was filled, but it's a couple chapters later now when he does it, and so I had to go back because I didn't think about it in terms of, I know he goes up and down at least 3 or 4 times. Was he back down to implement the things that is said that he's supposed to go through before we get to this part? Because then we could potentially lump Aaron into this zone of not knowing, like, where's my brother at?
Right.
Why he didn't come back?
Right.
Hey, I'd like to put out there that I was speaking on it before. You know, the people be talking about, oh, that name is a pagan name. It's not that. We got to think about during that time, and we know the pictograph was written, and we know what represented the Most High was a calf's head as well as a staff. And I'm going to side with him just for the moment, even though
side with who?
No, I'm just going to do it.
No, but who you side with?
And being that he was ignorant to what y'all was talking about, in his mind, he panicking, the people going crazy. I got an idea. Took off their gold, and he made what he thought to be the Most High representative. which
If
is
an
a pictogram ox head.
represent power.
Yeah, so he made the golden calf. And then in his mind, even though he was wrong, in his mind, he's like, there he go. But you got the naysayers that said, oh, that name is pagan. It wasn't the name was pagan. The righteous name was given to a pagan idol. It wasn't that the name was pagan. All the higher people, they say that, but that's not true. So even in his own mind, he thought he was doing something right, even though he wasn't. But here's when you know that we made in the image of Yah. Because what did Yah tell Moshe? Look at your people who you brought out of Egypt. He disowned us immediately.
Okay. Let's go back. Let's go back because there is a little bit of a we can't try to justify Aaron too much over here.
No, I'm not
because if we go back to chapter 24, okay, chapter 20, of course, chapter 20 is the 10 Commandments being given, right? So chapter 20, there's given, and then even when they're given, Moses is up. And then he tells them to come down in verse 20. Hold on. 20:20 says Yahweh came down upon the Mount Sinai on the top of the mountain. He called Moses up to the top of the mount, and Moses went up. So Moses, even at that point, he went up and down a few times from chapter 19. Everybody heard about the do not commit idols, but if I was over in 23, Exodus 23, let me pull that up, because there might have been a time when it's obvious that he was away long enough for them to be acting up. But I'm saying he was up and down communicating the thoughts of the Most High in between, where they should have known by now. 23, oh, this is a good one here, 23:3. Hold on, that's 23. Oh, it's my fault. It's 24:3. 24:3.
It says, and Moshe came and related to the people all the words of Yahweh and all the right rulings, and all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words that Yahweh has spoken we shall do.
Okay, so if we say from even just right there, if we say from even right there, there's laws that come after, but we got to be able to look at all the things that came before that. If we say, I don't know, 23:24, thou shalt not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do after their works, or thou shalt. So we already at chapter 23 and verse 24, they already vowed not to do that. Even though they heard it on Mount Sinai. Above that, they got Exodus 23 and 24, where they said all the stuff that we heard that you came down and you gave us more things.
Did they have a? Oh yeah, they did have that. That god with the ox head with the kind of like sun in the middle of its.
I think that's what that is.
That was I forget what that was a Canaanite thing.
Oh, okay.
So that would have been one of the gods from the land of where they was going to.
Okay.
That was a Canaanite
so they
god.
didn't even know that one yet.
They didn't know about that one yet. I don't think they did, no. But but I'm saying though, but they at least got this over here that they swore to already. They said that we're not going to do it. Yeah. Now we do have the fact that he is up and down, back and forth. Time's going by, and you know how we do. He's been up there so long, maybe he's dead. I don't know.
About that.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm saying that the point of all of this is what I'm saying is that the difference between what we see with Bezalel in terms of the fact that it's saying that he is not only chosen but empowered up to that point. We don't see that same thing given to Aaron. We see the fact that he's chosen, and we see that the fact that he's anointed with the oil, but it don't talk about that extra kind of a thing. And then I'm saying that we see the problem over here in chapter 32 with the fact that whatever the case may be, you know, as who he was the one that was supposed to stand up and say, we can't do this. I don't care how long you've been gone. I'll take over. Like, we can't do that, right?
Or to come up with the idea.
Or be the one that comes up with the idea.
That's why I was thinking for a second that he didn't hear none of it.
Yeah.
To be that crazy, to be like,
it's
I'll make you something.
Yeah, it's terrible.
He should have went to the foot of the mountain like, Moses,
Right.
Moses, help me,
Yeah.
he's still down there. What's going on?
You know, Joshua was over there. You know he was over there. Talk to him, like, do something.
But that's so wild how he just owned them real quick, man. Like you tell, like for instance, you'll get mad at Hiskey, and you tell your wife, you know, look at your son. What you go get your son? You see me? But you tell him what he's doing. Get him before I whoop his behind.
No, the most I was justified at that point because they heard.
Yeah,
he probably wouldn't have said he was going to destroy him if they had agreed and heard. Went back. But they agreed and heard, and he said, "Look at him. Right. I'm up here talking to you, trying to help them." And I just told him not to do that. Go, I'm about to take them all out.
But
they ain't gonna listen
because he's still right. Because Moses is still seed of Abraham.
Right.
It don't gotta be all them.
Right.
He said,
it's still Abraham. He's still being faithful to what he promised to Abraham. If it's only Moses.
And the thing about this, Moses would have made it if he would have took that deal.
Oh my goodness! If he would have come to plea, if he would have took the deal,
like, you know what? Let him burn.
You're right. Yes.
He
okay.
Went into this.
He was going to build up another nation. Yeah. Like he built up. You could basically.
He would have went over.
Yeah.
Ain't that something?
Ain't that something?
Ain't that something? The very people that he came, that he sat up there and did all of that pleading for, end up giving his life. He gave his life for them people. He gave his life for them people, and he didn't even get over there. If that's not a picture of Yeshua, I don't know what is, right? Yeah. He sat up there and did all this stuff for his people who rejected him. Yeah. Who sat up there and wanted to match wits with him and get and feel a certain kind of way because he's this regular guy, supposed to be unlearned, and the powers that be was sitting up there being perplexed by his wisdom and knowledge. Right, and so we'll talk more about this whole situation because there's more to the situation. But I did just want to just bring out the difference that we see over there with the fact that despite the fact that Aaron at this point is a chosen, set apart individual, chosen. For the ministry of the high priest. Right. But we don't see that empowerment. The empowerment is missing, and then we see what is what happens like instantly, right? It's a terrible situation, right? And so we want to be able to think about the fact that, you know, we can't just bank on whatever our purpose is, whatever we've been destined to do, whatever we've been called to do. Outside of the empowerment, we're gonna be just like this one, because he was called to do the most important thing that there was in Israel, which was be the high priest. Right? There wasn't nobody in Israel who had a job higher than his. Right? Well, Moses, but I'm saying, like, as far as callings go, as far as positions go, right? He's at the very top. And so how much more so when we think about our role as being Israel, as being the sons of Elohim, as being the chosen people, do we have to lean on the guidance that's provided for us, which is that Ruach HaKodesh, right? That spirit that he puts on the inside of us to give us the strength, power, and ability to be successful in this task that he's given to his people, right? We have to be able to understand that it's got to be about what Peter talks about in that 2 Peter verse that we looked at, in terms of being working diligently, working hard to make our calling and our election sure, right? So that we do not fall, because the ability for us to fall if we don't do that, it could be pretty high, right? If we're not working hard and diligently to allow the thing that the Most High puts in us to succeed, if we're not allowing that thing in us, that spirit in us, to flourish and grow and bring us to the next level. Okay, so we're gonna talk more about, because the thing, it gets worse, right?
It's work.
And we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it some more on next Shabbat. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and be done for. Okay, but we're just gonna say to all of the people, if you came, it's your first time coming to the channel, that you subscribe, hit the notification button so that you get all of the notifications of when we come back. We ask that you keep on coming back. We thank you for coming. Your input is welcome over in the comments. If you have any thoughts, questions, or comments, don't be shy about putting your little comments or whatever over here. I look over periodically and see them over there. If you got anything to add or ask or whatever, don't be shy. But if you don't participate, then we can't, you can't be heard, right? Okay, that's what the thing is for us to be able to deal. The next best thing to being able to be here and have these the input and things is in the comments. So go ahead and put your little things in there, and then we try to get to any questions that or concerns or whatever that we see over here. So that being said, we're gonna go ahead and say Shabbat Shalom. Everybody have a wonderful week, and y'all will be back next week. All right.